Hey, Thrive Loud listeners, Lou Diamond here. Today we got a great show. Larry Cohen, CEO of Axis Promotion, is our guest. Larry shares a lot about the promotional marketing industry, his company Axis Promotions, and we tap into some interesting pieces about the industry itself and bringing other industries together, connecting them, if you will. Check out the Thrive website also at thrivepartners.net for a whole bunch of other shows that we've done, and you guys can listen to some of the older ones, and stay tuned for some really great interviews in the next coming weeks. But for this show, let's kick it off with Larry Cohen on Thrive Loud.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today Thrive Loud is proud to bring you Larry Cohen, President and CEO of Axis Promotions. How are you today, Larry?
I am doing awesome. Thanks for asking.
Spectacular. I'm going to share with our listeners who you are, a little bio if you don't mind, and then we'll jump into this here. So from humble beginnings around his kitchen table back in 1991, with a few good ideas, a lot of enthusiasm, and a share of naivete, Larry began Axis with a mission to develop a full-service promotional products company that focused on delivering creative solutions and not merely selling products, but really delivering above and beyond. Axis's client base covers an exceptional broad cross-section of industries: pharmaceutical, entertainment, financial, beauty and fashion, publishing, and sports. Axis has been named Counselor Magazine's top 40 distributors 5 years in a row, Promo Marketing Magazine top 40 distributor, 4 Gold 2015 PPAI Awards, SAAGNY Distributor of the Year, and PPB's Greatest Companies to Work For. Axis now ranks as one of the top promotional merchandising agencies in the United States. So from that little kitchen, Axis has grown to over 70 employees with offices in New York City, Westchester, Boston, and Chicago, and soon to be out on the West Coast. When Larry's not managing day-to-day operations at Axis, he serves on the board of the Promotional Products Association International, Promo Kitchen Advisory Board, PeerNet Marketing Committee, and is a former chair of the North American Leadership Conference. He's a graduate of Duke University and the University of Pennsylvania Law School, is a stand-up guy, and I could speak personally, runs one very cool company. So Larry, with that big intro, what are we going to start with today? I was actually writing this down. I'm like, what am I going to kick things off with Larry? I think I wanted to start off actually how I know you personally, because that's something that I do with all of my guests on the show. And if you don't mind, I think I will.
Sure.
All right. So one day I'm actually at a deli in my local town. I'm standing in line buying, I think, fresh tomatoes and mozzarella, and Larry's ordering some really big, cool sandwich. And he comes up to me. We haven't seen each other in a while. And he says to me, Lou, would you be interested in speaking at my company's offsite? And I'd say from that ordering of a deli sandwich and some mozzarella and tomato, we've established a pretty strong long-term relationship after having been at your offsite, worked with your team, and really been working with you to help shape Axis and move into the future. So it's been a privilege from my end, helping to coach and consult with your leaders. And hopefully our listeners will get a feel for more about what your company's about and more of how we work together as well. I'll also add that he's a neighbor. He has way more hair than I do and is way better looking at the age that he is. So we'll keep you for...
Wow. I can't wait for my mother to hear this podcast. It's awesome.
She's going to love it. She's going to love it.
And I will tell you just about that story about, you know, as we were thinking about having this offsite where we bring all of our people in from all the different offices and wanting to do something different this year. You know, I knew Lou and we knew the business that he was in, but I had never experienced Lou. So it was a bit of a leap of faith because I really took him at face value. And, you know, I knew him personally, I knew his personality, and it was a leap of faith. And it so far exceeded any of my high expectations because not only was it incredibly helpful for us, but the reaction that we got from all of our attendees at the event was, how can we get more of Lou? And we had worked with other consultants and people in the past just in sales training and motivation and all of those things. And we didn't give Lou so much direction, and we didn't structure it so much, but he touched on all the things that people had been clamoring for, and they just started clamoring for more. So you made me look really good at that event. So thank you.
And hopefully, well, as you already do look so good, so it's easy from that aspect. But you also, I will have to say, when I say one cool company, and this is a good way to start it. What's great about companies today, and specifically those that work in a very cool space, and I say cool because promotional marketing is pretty cool, and we'll talk a little bit about the things that Axis does from your perspective. However, you've got a young energy in the office, people with unbelievable amount of experience. They love what they do. And it is so important to see how that aspect of Axis is completely ingrained in everybody. They love the work that they do. They love the stuff they're doing for their clients. And it's hard work. And we'll talk about some of that today. But with that, it makes my job pretty easy because it's just a matter of figuring out how they could do that job better. So it's my pleasure from that aspect of it. To kick us off, Larry, let's talk about the space that you're in and talk about some of the things that you're seeing in the space, because promotional marketing, people have a certain perception as to what that is. But as I mentioned in the intro, Axis has a different way of looking at that. Share with the Thrive Loud listeners exactly what that is.
So we are a promotional marketing agency, and everything that we do is done with something that is tangible. So you have your online and you have your print media and TV and everything like that. And we are the tangible part of the advertising world. It's the corporate, it's the giveaway, it's the item that you give to somebody as a gift. And it is all about some way to create a tangible connection between you and your brand. That's the part that when Lou makes reference to it's fun, we get to play with stuff all day long and look for really great things that work well for our clients. What we do better than most, at least in my opinion, is that everything we do is not about a product. Everything we do is about a strategy. And the strategy starts with, what are you trying to achieve? What is your message? What is the pain point that you're trying to point out to somebody that you're trying to pitch business to? How do you want to motivate your employees? How do you want to motivate your clients? All of those questions that you may think about in other aspects of your marketing plan, we bring that same element to why are you going to give away something tangible? And that's been the big difference for us and for many of our clients, and also different than some of our competition, because we don't want to send you a catalog. We want to understand what you're trying to achieve, and then we can help you get from point A to point Z or wherever you want us to help you get to. And that's what keeps us engaged. It's not just the product, which is fun, but it's also working with our clients and watching them, move the needle, in the direction that's really positive for their business.
I'll say this, and by the way, regarding stuff, you've never seen an office like this, and this is probably true of a lot of firms that deal with this stuff, but the coolest things you've ever seen, from as simple things as water bottles to phone chargers, but in volume, in all different brands and companies, it's all over the place. It looks like a walking playground. It looks like a kindergarten classroom, come to life in the professional business world, with lots of color, lots of products, and it's fun because when their clients come in or when their suppliers come in, it only continues to add in volume. I think you guys might hold the record for the UPS and FedEx delivery boxes in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm sure in the other locations as well.
That might be true.
In this space that you're in, and let's give you a little kudos here. It is not easy to have a successful business start out from when you started out and to continue to grow it to what you have and continue this pace since 1991. So for a long time now. And obviously, there's lots of pieces that make a company successful. From the position that you sit in as the leader, what have you seen has been some of the key moments or key pivot points along the way that have helped to make the company grow to where it is today?
To me, again, we're in the product-based business, but for the success for Axis is really about its people. They have the same passion about their business and their clients that I do. And I think what we have done well, besides, kind of that core DNA that, the company started at that I just described, is we've really come at this as we want to create a company that empowers them to run almost like a business within a business. So our job is to give them great tools and let them go out and be what they're really good at and achieve success that way. And we've also been really good about getting people to come work here and stay here for a long time and really buy into what's good for me is also good for the business, and not kind of everyone running off and just being complete individuals. We have amazing amounts of collaboration across multiple teams. It happens every single day. And the only payoff for that is that when you need some help, someone else is going to be there to help you. And that's kind of been the key for us. And I think the other key has been consistency. We haven't deviated so far from our mission, which is, if you can't figure out the strategy, then don't give something away. And that sounds weird because you're in the sales business, and in some ways you might always want to, everyone says just, never stop selling. But sometimes it is important to step back and make sure if whatever you're selling is the right thing for the client, which is why I think our clients, my first two clients that we ever got, which was we worked with the NBA and we worked with American Express, they're still clients today. And that's an amazing thing to be able to say. And I think we have that experiences with most of our clients, that once we start working with them, they stay with us for a really long time.
So one of the things, Larry, that people love about working with Axis, from my experience in there, what your clients have said, is that you guys are actually always innovating in different ways, and you're coming up with new ideas all the time. If you're allowed to, can you share with us some of the things that you've been doing for some customers where you're able to mention it or not? So we get an idea of some of the places that you're trying to be innovative to help your clients better communicate their brand and their message.
So I'll speak generally, and I can speak a little more specifically about some of that. So we have clients that are in the fashion world. And one thing that we do, because we need to understand the direction that world is going, is that we create trend reports. So we are looking at trends that are going to be the next, for the next 6 to 9 months, what are going to be the color trends and the pattern trends and the product trends. And we create trend reports that we use internally to help inform people on our teams about some things that are coming down the road. And we also share those with our clients. So we have, and where that has played out is we were asked by a very large consumer products company to help them develop a gift that could be given away to people leaving the hospital. And it was mothers, and how could we actually target them? And they had done some stuff in the past, and we liked what they had done, but we said, let's look at what's happening in the fashion world and try to make this feel like it's not just a hospital gift, but it's something that I'll be happy carrying around, whether, not only from the hospital, but after that's all done. And we looked at some of the pattern trends, and we were looking at, there's a check kind of gingham pattern, and we designed, bags around that. And it turned into one of the largest orders that we have ever received as a company.
These were bags for new mothers, right? Leaving the hospital? Is that
leaving
what it was?
The hospital. And
okay, great.
It was a completely different shape and a completely different description than that started out in their initial brief. But we were able to kind of show them what they wanted and show them some other options, and it really developed into something that was truly massive for us, and now looks like it's going to expand out into other areas for them as well. Similar story to that is we attend gift shows and boutique shows, and not just our industry shows, but we also have a team that went out to the CES show this year. Again, looking at trends, things that are coming out now, things that are going to be coming out in 6 months, because we also work with the media world. And, one of the challenges often in our industry is what's new, what's hot, what's cool, what's trendy. Because when they give something away, they want to feel retail, they want to feel new. And by going to CES, we're able to come back and say, this is what we think is going to be cool and hot. And then, clients kind of gravitate towards that. So we're informing them of kind of what we can get today, what we can get in the future, but it also makes them, more curious about all of that. And then we help them stand out. So those are two, examples of things that we're doing that I think help us be better and help our clients be better. Because ultimately, one of the things that we say, and it's in part of our, and I don't know if it's the mission statement or one of those statements that we have, is
does anyone really memorize the mission statement? I think the CEO should know it a little bit.
But this one is one that I can always remember, because it is really part of what we all believe in. Is like, we want to look good by making you look good. And I think, we don't always need the recognition about it. We just want, if our client calls us up and says, my boss was happy, or the event was successful, or, our sales are up, thank you. That's about all we need, because our name doesn't go anywhere on any of the products. So for us, getting that kind of recognition and knowing that we did right by the client and they're happy is kind of what drives you in this.
What I like about the mentality at Axis, and I've seen this in a couple of instances from my experience working with you guys, where you guys are not afraid to tell the client to not do something. It doesn't matter how innovative it is. It might not be appropriate to their brand, or you'll be a strategic enough partner to the client to help them understand, hey, yeah, that might be the hottest thing that we just saw at this new trade show, but that's not really going to connect with what you're trying to do with your customers. And I thought that's the type of thinking that a lot of agencies are afraid to say, because all they want to do is just sell the product or push or say yes to the client. And I think that's a nice relationship that you've established company-wide with the relationships with your company.
Yeah, it takes time, but you also have to build trust. But I think, and again, I'm not sure everyone would believe this, but I think telling your clients no, and I don't just say no and walk away. No, and this is what we think might work better. That is really powerful. And there are times where we've literally said, you shouldn't give anything away, because, they're targeting high-end CEOs and they've got a 75-cent budget. Those two things, like, what are you giving that person where they're valuing it? Because sometimes giving away the wrong thing is so much more damaging than giving away nothing. Right. Because they don't feel like it was a thoughtful idea. They don't feel like you put thought into the gift, or wasn't budgeted properly. And, we have seen clients do that, or come to us after the fact and say, we're coming to you now because we went out and bought these on our own, and the clients were really upset, or they're not going to sponsor our golf event next year because we gave them, just a sleeve of golf balls. And, this is a true story. One guy said, I buy lots of foursomes throughout the year, and this one charity event I went to, and they gave me like a really awful gift. And he goes, you know what? I would have been better if they just told me they were donating more money to charity and giving me nothing than to give me that. And he goes, next year I'm going to go to a different charity. I'm not going to sponsor that one. So it's a good example of where, this stuff can be so effective, and it's probably one of the most cost-effective cost per impressions of any media out there, when you consider how long people hold on to an item. It's like supposedly, I think the average is about a year or more for an item, and how many impressions you can get out of that. It's a really incredibly powerful media, but it needs to be done in a thoughtful way. It needs to be done right.
Yeah. So, every industry has challenges that face them all the time. It could be international tax laws, or costs that hit people, or just, the price of everything keeps getting de minimis, and margins keep getting shut down. What are some of the issues that your industry is facing and that you're dealing with front and center?
I think all the things you just mentioned are probably, part of facing every industry that's going on there. I think one of the things that has changed a lot over the past few years is that there's a whole there's a fairly sophisticated and detailed group of laws that relate to promotional products, which people go, really? And
I was just about to say that. I didn't know that.
And they're federal, and it's about, lead in products, and because things that you would associate with typically consumer product items. And for many years, I think promotional items kind of slid below the radar on that. We know that that's not the case anymore. So I think the changing regulatory environment is a big challenge to our industry. And I think, we have 2 full-time people that do that for us. But I think the industry in general is doing a good job trying to get people aware of it. But it's complicated, and what you find is that it's one thing to deal with the federal regulations, but then you have to deal with the state-by-state regulations. So California is different than Illinois, but if you're doing a national program, you have to make sure that you're covered for both of those states, plus the federal stuff. So that's definitely one. I think that the economy, which is I think everybody has a different opinion. Is it doing great? Is it doing neutral? Is it going down? I think there's a change, a structural change going on in the business world in general, and I think all of those things are making some businesses inherently insecure about their position. And you're seeing industries laying off people and all of that stuff. All of those things impact our business, or potentially impact our business. And it just means that you gotta just keep moving. For us, it's keep moving forward, keep working with the clients that we have, and try to find other good ones that want to listen to our story. And that's the part that we are excited about, because I think when we do get in to see people, that we get business, which is an amazingly high statistic. If we have a meeting with a company, we will get business, over 80% of the time from them, which is, pretty staggering. It's a high hit rate, but I think it's because of just the way we approach their business, and the creativity that we bring to it. It's not just products, it's the strategy, it's the creativity, it's something that we are still working on every single day. And one of the things that, Lou, I think you've been really helpful with our people, which is how to be better listeners and how to ask better questions and how to do things like that. So we've had 20 years of great success, but working with you has been one of the reasons to bring you in is because how do we become better at it, and how do we become not complacent at those things? Because I think the world's changing, and we got to change with it.
No, I'm with you. And one of the things I want to talk about is something that I've observed in your industry, which is, I don't think it's unique. There are other industries that do this, but you seem to be your company and your competitors seem to do this better than most. And that is, you have created lots of alliances and associations of other promotional marketing companies together, and you guys meet often and discuss things. Talk a little bit about some of the work that you're doing across the industry and these industry associations, and how that's been helpful to Axis and to your competitors too.
Yeah, I mean, I've always remarked that, I had no background in this industry, so somebody introduced me to it when I was looking for a particular product, and I was amazed by the diversity of it. But, fairly early on, what really surprised me was how willing competitors were to help each other out for the good of the industry as a whole, but also because there's a benefit to sharing information with each other and learning from each other. So, we're part of a group called PeerNet, and there's, I think we're up to 17 companies around the country that do exactly what we do. Mm-hmm. And we have a full-time CEO. We do joint marketing together. We do joint knowledge shares together. I can call them and ask them any question about just about anything. I mean, I'm not going to ask them about their secret sauce. If they have some secret sauce, I don't want that recipe. But it allows me, when I have a challenge in business, that I can call them, any one of them, and one of them is going to have an answer and goes like, oh, we confronted that 3 months ago. Here's how we did it. Or here's a clause out of our contract. Or here's our contract. Just copy it. Why are you going to spend money on doing those things? And that's really unique. And what it breeds in terms of the group people that are comfortable with that is, I don't really want to compete with them. And although we do compete in some areas, there's a level of respect in terms of how you compete. So if I'm going to lose business to somebody, I'd rather lose this business to somebody who I like and has been helpful to me in other ways than to other competitors that, will proverbially stab you in the back, to get, 2 more pennies type of thing. And it's really unique. I'm on the board, and just the way I see companies share and interact at trade shows and at meetings and across different forums, across the North American Leadership Conference. I mean, you are bringing, suppliers and distributors and other partners all together to figure out how we can all be better at business and better at what we do. And it's pretty amazing, and makes it a very comfortable industry to work in.
Yeah, it's a comfortable competitors is kind of what you guys have created, and other industries should look to it. It is interesting to see how powerful that is, that when you connect with others that do exactly what you do, there's plenty to go around. Like you said, you're going to lose business to certain people. There's also the chance that by increasing the size of the pie, there's more opportunities there, more new avenues for people to explore. Even as you just described it, I mean, I would never have thought promotional marketing would have come out of, new mothers coming out of the hospital. I'm still thinking about, the coffee cup on the desk with all the different logos. You guys cover the gamut from all these things, from trade show events to special sponsorship events and charity events as well. And I think it's really interesting, the breadth that you guys all have within this, and it's impressive.
And one of the fun things is those are some of the obvious things, but there's also other things that we do that are really much more strategic. And we work with very small companies and we work with very large companies, and even the very large companies, sometimes they're doing $500 orders all day long. So you can talk about that really massive order. Who knows if that order ever repeats? It's the repeatable everyday business, the $1,000, the $5,000, and all of those things. And part of the fun part for me and for others here is, how do you work with clients? And it could be working with clients like you, Lou, and other people like that, and figure out how do you stay engaged with your clients in an age where people don't want to get on the phone, or they want to just chat with you, or they don't want to let you come into their office. How do you engage with them? So you close a piece of business. How do you stay in touch with them? And we have lots of great direct mail pieces and products that you can send to them at Valentine's Day saying, we love working with you, and we can help put a process in place for that. Or what do you do when you get a business referral? Oftentimes we hear like, oh, I was going to take them out to dinner, but then everybody got busy and it never happened. Yeah. Well, there's lots of ways to use things in our industry to do things like that. And so that's when it goes back to, it's not just this strategy, which is this 30,000 foot strategy. It's also really, let's get into your business and figure out how to keep the clients you have happy, how to remind them that they're still your client, how to get them to give you referrals, how to reward referrals. So it's the whole life cycle of the relationship is where we can do our best work with people.
We're here with CEO of Axis Promotion, Larry Cohen. And you should know that because if you're listening to this podcast, it's either on your phone or it's on your computer screen, and it says that. But with that, I always like to ask this question, and I'm impressed with a lot of the people in your company, Larry. And I always ask the question, when you're having trouble thriving, who do you seek out to help get back on track? And I'm actually curious, aside from myself, because you'll come to me for that. Who do you look to really gain guidance as kind of your consigliere or your sensei to help get you back on track?
Oh, that's a good question. It's interesting. It's my dad in many situations. He's always been a real inspiration for me. Just from the perspective of, lived up in New York, moved to North Carolina, was really, had no money, figured to be poor in North Carolina, and really built a really great, thriving business, but was always never lost that entrepreneurial side of what he was doing and really built trust with his clients. And, I often think about like, what would my father have done? And he taught me a lot. And my brother, who's also in New York and has developed some incredible businesses up here as well. We often talk about things that we can do to, do things better. And I also turn to a lot of people here internally that I really do trust, and that they are able to step outside of their own individual, desires and try to think about what's better for the company. And, when you can build that level of trust and go to those people and know that they don't have an agenda, that's also really helpful.
Yeah, it's great. And having known some of those people in your company, you have lots of different avenues and opinions on how to get that, and that's a nice source to have. It's great that that's what you've built up, and that's something you should take pride in, because they do say that the quality of your people is a reflection of its leader. So kudos to you on all of that. And about your dad, it's true. I think you can see that hard working ethic piece that your dad's entrepreneurial spirit comes out in a lot of the stuff you do. So I've seen that. For those listeners, it does happen. It really does. It came from that core. So what's one takeaway you want the Thrive Loud listeners to remember? Strategy matters. Be thoughtful in every interaction that you have with your clients. It's not good enough just to say, we're doing this part great and this part okay. I think in this day and age, every touch point needs to tie back with each other and be thoughtful. I like it. I have two fun questions I like to ask everybody. What's the app on your phone that you can't live without?
Probably Evernote.
Really? You use it a lot? I'm not as much of a user of it. I have it. The elephant kind of scares me on the logo screen all the time.
Yeah, no, I use it for, lots of things, from recording to-do lists, from recording information, from saving articles. It has a great business card scanner, so you can scan the business cards and it puts it right into your contacts. Nice. Lots of great things.
Your favorite movie of all time, Larry?
Animal House. I try to,
those deltas.
That, exactly. That one's so easy for me. It's a fun movie. It reminds me of my childhood. And the best thing about it is I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I think that might be one of their favorite movies. So we share that in common.
I recently watched that movie with my soon-to-be 17-year-old, same age as your son, and I forgot about a couple of scenes in that movie that whether they were appropriate or not to watch with your dad. So hopefully it didn't affect him too much.
He's 17. Trust me, it's worse.
It's very true. How can everybody find Larry, and where are all the places, social media and whatnot, that we could look for access?
You can find us on the web. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our website, which is just a good place to find a little bit more about us and see some fun case studies, is axispromo.com, AXISPROMO.com, and that'll also give you kind of links to all of our other social media.
Awesome. Larry Cohen, can't thank you enough for having you on the show today. It was a pleasure having you. You see, it wasn't too painful. You survived.
I did survive, and you're a good person for doing this, and I really appreciate it.
And I thank you for all the kind words about helping with you. Love working with you and your team. And thanks for joining us today. And until next week, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Thrive Loud, or find us on the web at thrivepartners.net.